Flow. This is going to be a sort of longer form video for those of you who have requested how to create animated characters using AI generation techniques. Totally unique custom characters, whatever you can imagine, and a super easy, fast workflow that I've kind of engineered to make it really easy to actually not only generate the concept art, but to transform the character into an animated, usable, playable character. Here's how I like to actually start out. So I'm using Comet Browser with my built-in assistant. And I'm going to say, hey, Comet Browser, can you take over my browser and use the image generator to generate up some character ideas in a pixel art style? I'm thinking of something like an interesting hero character with an indie dev pixel art sort of look. Come up with like 20 ideas and then I'll come back and check it out. Okay, so now I've actually used the Comet browser. You can see the little blue flash has taken over my browser and it's getting to work thinking of some interesting ideas for characters. I'm not sure what I want yet, so I'm going to let AI actually give me some ideas. We're going to start brainstorming up some concepts. But already it's coming up with some prompt ideas, and it's using my Sorcerer's Game Creation Suite image generator system. This is one of the tools in my Sorcerer's Game Creation Suite, image generator, video generator, and a bunch of other handy things that we'll talk about later in this video. But like I say, the first part is coming up with some initial base concepts. So I'm just going to let it do its work, and we'll come back and check on it when it's done. Actually, one thing that I did notice, and that you do actually need to specify, otherwise you'll get stuff like this. I'm going to say, hey, okay, let's try that again, but think about more creative, unique characters, not like a generic knight or something like that. That's boring. And here's the other important thing. We need to ask for every character to be like a side view or a front view character. And what we need is for it to be on a single solid green screen color background with no shadows. This is going to be like a sprite, so we need to design it as such. I'm getting some interesting results here with GPT Image 1.5. One of the reasons I like to use my system is that it actually lets you toggle on a bunch of different image generation models at the same time. So if you want to try some different art styles, with the same sort of prompts, you can actually do that. Hey, so I'm checking back in here, and I've got quite a few interesting creatures and characters generated up. Of course, you don't have to use automatic generation for your character ideas. You can ask for whatever you want. That's the beauty of imagining with AI, but I think I kind of like this guy. This art style is pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab this guy, and I'm going to say, give me a side view. Give me a perfect side view of this character. For this, I'm actually going to be using the GPT Image 1.5 model on medium quality. I think it really does the best job. I really think it does. And I'm also going to say, hey, create a front view of this character, and I'm going to say, create a back view of this character, because we're going to do 4-directional movement in this video. One important note that I nearly forgot to mention, if you look at our character here, there's a bit of an issue I'm going to point out. What we've got here is a green screen and some green moss. Now when it comes to chroma keying out that green moss is going to be a problem. So what I've done is I've gone and I've asked for a character with a blue screen background, and I've actually asked for a nice little dark outline. This actually helps to create a lot of good separation. A little bit of shadow there. I'm going to redo this one without the shadow, so I got to ask for no shadow. There we go. That's so clean. You can see sometimes the backgrounds come out a little speckled, a little shaded. They'll probably work, but the cleaner that background, the better. Okay, so there we've got our character side view, and we got our character back view, and our character front view. I'm going to grab these, and I'm going to head on over to my favorite video generator. There are a few good ones. Kling is good, but I've actually been favoring Grok Imagine. I find it does a pretty good job at this part. Okay, now realistically, this is going to take a few tries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a few Grok Imagines, and I'm going to add each of my images that I downloaded into here, and we'll just start trying to get the correct animation walk cycle. Okay, there's side view. Let's also upload our front view, and we'll grab our back view as well. Additionally, we're going to want an idle animation, so I'm going to actually open up one additional, and we'll grab the side view, and we're going to use that for the idle animation. Okay, so what I'm going to say here is well, I mean, that's not entirely wrong. But the character is walking in place. Side view. Okay, let's start with that. Over here we've got our front view. The character is walking in place. Front view. Let's try this one over here. The character is walking in place. Rear view. And try over here. The character is standing, idle, breathing. Let's try something like that. Okay. Okay, so there's our first go at the walking side view. We should mute that. That's kind of loud. So what have we got here? We've got, gonna have to look at this frame by frame. Left foot, right foot. And we basically got a complete walk cycle because it just kind of repeats after that. Not bad. The edges don't hold up perfectly, but they're not bad, and this is going to be pretty hard to notice at a smaller size. So I'm going to say that's actually pretty good. We're going to grab that one. That one's fine. Over here we've got our walk forward. Maybe that's a walk forward. I mean, I like his attitude. I mean, yeah, but probably not. Let's go ahead and redo that one. What do we got for walk from reverse? It's a little bit on an angle, but you know what? There's something kind of interesting about that bit of angle. So let's see. We got 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and I think we definitely have a complete walk cycle there. So let's grab that, and let's see idle standing. So he kind of rotates. I'm going to mention side view. I wasn't strict about that, so we'll come back and check on those. Okay, and there we have our walking forward view. I think that looks pretty good, and our standing idle animation. Okay, now I'm going to head over to the Sorceress Game Creation Suite and head on over to the Sprightly section. From the Sprightly section, I'm going to choose to upload one single one of my outputted videos. Doesn't matter which one. This is just to get the colors matched up because I've added a new feature here where we're going to be able to do these in batch. So we don't have to do them one at a time. We don't have to choose the frames yet, although we can if we want to do it that way. But this is going to be better to do later, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So whatever. For now, we just choose a couple of frames and click on Start Processing. And then we're going to go ahead and find our Chroma key, and we're going to figure out what's a good Chroma key amount. Well, I think we can just basically crank it here. There's a little blue halo, but that's okay. We'll get rid of that in a minute. It looks like the rest of the guy is not being taken away from that maximum tolerance. Now I'm going to go ahead and choose a size for the character. I'm just going to go 256. Nice little square. There's lots of sizing options available though for if you want a different configuration. And then lastly, this little feature, Halo Remover, is going to remove that tiny little blue halo around. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there's a tiny little blue halo, and there we go. That cleans up the edges really nice. If it was a bigger halo, I might change that to 2 pixels, but the less pixels you have to remove, the faster it processes. So in this case, it looks really clean at 1 pixel, so I'm going to do that. Now, my new little feature, batch operation. I love this so much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on batch operation, go and upload all of the additional video animations alongside my original. These will all get the same exact chroma key settings and other configurations that we applied to the first one, and that's why this batch process is so powerful. You don't even have to go through, as if the process weren't already fast enough to extract the sprite sheets. Now we can do it in batch, and it makes it even faster. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Start Batch. This is going to take a little while to extract all those frames, and by the way, you can choose to extract every second or third frame. This is a lot of frames, and you probably don't need all of them from every video. I like to do it this way because it gives me more flexibility in the next step, which we'll get to soon. So we'll come back when this is done. Okay, so now I've got my 4 sprite sheets, which contain all of my slides. What I'm going to head on over is to back, what am I saying? I'm going to head on over back into the Sorceress Game Creation Suite now, and I'm heading over to the Sprite Analyzer tool, which I've just finished upgrading to handle batch processing of sprites. This is nice. This is good. One good useful thing that I can probably do before I get into that so I can remember what all these are later is I should probably name them. Okay, so I'm going to name these. This is actually going to be really helpful as well when it comes time to getting these ready for the actual animation process with my vibe coding agent. So here we've got walk, and here we've finally got, what is this last one? Walk forward. All right. Walk forward, and that's walk side, and that's walk rear, and that's idle. Okay, so that's nicely figured out. I'm going to drag and drop all of these over into the sprite analyzer, and what I'm going to do is click on the batch auto detect feature, and what that's going to actually do is go through all of the different sprite sheets and batch auto detect them. So in this case, we've actually got a pretty close auto detection. Most of them are pretty good, but if you noticed, some of them didn't actually come out quite right. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to look at how the ones that came out right, 7 by 26. I was like, okay, 7 by 26. And we'll just make a little manual correction. Okay, that one looks good now. And this one actually had one additional row detected, so it goes 7 by 26. Now they're all perfect with a tiny bit of manual tweaking. Oftentimes this just gets it right the first time. Sometimes it gets it close. I'm always trying to improve this system, but it's pretty good, I think. Generally gets it. Anyway, so now what we've got here is all of our animations. And what we can do over here is preview how they would actually look if we were playing them, right? So we got something like that. How would it look at 60 frames per second? How would it look at 15 frames per second? So you can kind of like tweak some stuff around and see what you want. Now, idle is idle, whatever. But let's take a look at the walking animation, for example, because we're only going to use some of the frames here. We're going to want to get kind of a nice, smooth walk cycle. So normally we're going to lurch into gear, and what we want is a nice sort of like a looping walk cycle. So basically, as soon as I select a few different frames, the animation preview over here will reset. And my goal is to basically just get something that looks, yeah, actually that looks, well, a little hiccup right there. Looks pretty smooth. Let's try, actually that's pretty smooth. Okay, so I found the right frames to create my animation walk cycle. Great. So what I'm now going to do is basically go through and repeat the process for all of the different sprite sheets that I want to use. Okay, so that one's probably going to want to start from, let's see, we'll just play through a little bit here, and we'll find those animations. So basically the whole process, I won't make you guys watch the whole process here with me, but the whole process is basically looking for a nice little animation loop. It doesn't necessarily matter if the animation doesn't have that initial start, like if the character's an idle and its first step is from idle, that doesn't necessarily matter, because with kind of small sprites, it's okay if you only get the walk cycle. You don't have to like get the transition into walk cycle unless you want to be super, super detailed about your animations, which you can do, but it would just take a little bit more preparation. That's actually looking pretty good. I like that. That's smooth. Okay, so we found our frames for our rear. And you know what? Whatever. This is a long form video. You guys can hang out and watch the process with me. I've got a short video too. Wow, did I just dial that? Wow, I dialed that. Okay, that was a lucky guess. Now, what I've got here is, and you know what? Let's actually just do our idle as well. We'll get a nice idle. Yeah, we'll get a nice idle loop. Maybe one less. Maybe one more less. Maybe a few more. Maybe one less. Nope, maybe two more. Oh, whatever. If I were going to do this perfect, I would well, actually, there we go. That's decent. Maybe one more, actually. It has a little hiccup, but you know what? That's okay. This is a tutorial video. So now what I've got is all of these frames being saved, right? And these are all good. So now the magic part is when we scroll down here and we have this multi-sheet phaser code. I'm going to copy all that multi-sheet phaser code. I'm just going to save that somewhere, and I'm going to open up my vibe coding agent. I'm going to be using Cursor for this. Okay, so let's take the sprite sheets and drag them over here into my tree guy project. This is all about tree guy. And then what we're going to do is we are going to paste in that phaser code that I showed you right down here. Copy all that. And here's my instructions. My instructions are I'm going to voice record this. Take a look at the sprite sheets inside our project folder. We have idle, walk forward, walk rear, and walk side. I want you to create a scene for us. You can put some placeholder backgrounds and placeholder trees and stuff like that. And use our character, create a character with a WASD movement system. Play the, of course, rear when he's walking up, play the side when he's walking sideways, and rotate the, flip the sidewalk depending on which orientation he's walking, left or right. And of course, play the forward and idle when he's walking down or standing still. Okay, so, oh, you know what? I forgot to, hang on. Oh, slow down. Okay, and now, important bit, I got to paste in this phaser code, right? So here is the code that tells you how to set up the sprite sheet. That's the part we figured out before, and that's why the sprite sheet analyzer is so handy, because it visually allows you to figure out the animation components of your sprite sheets and then just handily hand those over to your vibe coding assistant. Now, I was going to also mention, while we're waiting for this to happen, is that in the Sorceress Game Creation Suite, I've also added a few handy utilities over here. So you might have noticed that these sprite sheets are fairly large, 18.9 megabytes. So what I did is I've created some handy systems. For example, we can resize images quickly if that's what we want to do, but probably the better way to do that is to export at a smaller character size. What if we just want to make these file sizes smaller? We can actually do that over here in the reduce PNG color system. So normally these are quite large files, 5.4 megabytes. So I've got a few different quality settings depending on how complex your character is. 256 colors gets pretty much all of the information across, and it reduced the file size by 53%. If you wanted to go down even more and see how he looks, you could reduce the file size, well, a little bit more, 59%. I'm not sure if it's worth it. I'm going to keep that at the 3% size reduction. Okay, and there we have our character, walking left, walking right, walking up, walking down, standing and idle. Now, I've added a little bit of a zoom in, zoom out, because here's the thing. This is not pixel perfect, but it's pretty good. If you got a character that's, maybe this size, which is often the case for platformers, it's really hard to tell if there's some pixelation issues there. I've got him much bigger here so we could take a closer look and see how that all came together. And you can see indeed there's a bit of rough edging around the edges of the character. You could always, of course, refine those things by hand if you wanted to and use this as a nice starting point. But yeah, this is actually oversized. He's probably scaled. There we go. That's probably his true 100% resolution right there. So, I mean, it's pretty good. Sort of depending on your character, I've actually had even better results. This is one I thought that came out pretty particularly good. I like how this art works. The size, the character, the edging, I think it came together. Here's another one I put together, which I thought came out pretty good. The edges came out quite nice on this one. We've got our little knightly character running around. Anyway, gentlemen, ladies, hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I will put links for all the tools used in this video in the description below. I am currently giving a lifetime one-time fee access to Sorceress Game Creation Suite. This will eventually change to a subscription model, but not for any of my early supporters who grab that lifetime access pass. So just so you know, this is my appreciation for those of you who support me early on, and check out the tools. I'll constantly be adding new features to it because I'm using it myself for game development, refining, adding features, and just figuring out what I can to make game dev more accessible and more possible for that solo dev or that very small team. You know what I mean? You probably know what I mean. That's probably you. That's me. That's probably you. Okay, see you guys in the next video.